So, greetings, everyone. I'm thrilled to be back again with the latest edition of Voices of Impact at the Impact Evaluation Lab. And today is a special treat. We are here with Dr. Canaan Van Williams. Everyone who knows him well knows that he prefers to be called Dr. Van. We're here with Jesse Hollander, and we're here with Bill Huston. Dr. Van is the CEO and the founder of Proactive Sustainable Bonds, and Jesse and Bill together are responsible for managing all of the impact work and the assessment work that they do together. So let's get right to it, guys. So Dr. Van, let's start with you, please. When you first came to us at the Impact Evaluation Lab, I think it's fair to say that you didn't quite know what you were getting into, but you were pretty enthusiastic about the concept. So why don't you take a minute, help us understand what do you do at Proactive Sustainable Bonds, and then why was it so important to you to work with the Impact Evaluation Lab?
Yes, thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it, Robert. And I'm here with my colleague Jesse, and I'm very honored to be here for this interview and to be a part of the Impact Evaluation Labs process. It was very important for us. As you know, I met you at SOCAP, and once you told me about the methodology, the impact authenticity score, what impact evaluation does, the accountability, the transparency, and the education and the learning, then I was like, wow, this is something that we absolutely need to do to further verify our impact and our investments. We're a low income workforce housing, social impact affordable housing fund.
And how do you go about your investment process in a way that is aligned with that mission that you just described?
As documented in our IMM framework, our theory of change, our strategy for change, as well as we directly advance sustainable development goals number 1, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, and directly 3, 8, and 12. And we do that in affordable housing. So with NOAA properties, naturally occurring affordable housing. And we work to make sure that we can provide quality housing that's sustainable, low E, renovated, and manufactured housing, multifamily, and the SRO, single room occupancy space for those at 20 to 30% below market rates.
And maybe we could just dive a little deeper here for listeners who aren't familiar with the affordable housing space and who don't want to confuse this with a biblical reference. What exactly is NOAH, if you would?
Okay, so NOAA is naturally occurring affordable housing. So we're a rapid housing provider. What that means is that we aim to get people into units within anywhere from 2 weeks or a few days up to about 2 to 3 months on a longer term end. For us, 3 months is a long time. And so NOAA stands for naturally occurring affordable housing, meaning if you think about blighted or underserved areas, or even properties in areas that have a huge need for workforce housing, maybe the property's boarded up, maybe it was previously owned by a slumlord, or maybe it's distressed or it's in disrepair. We make sure that the property is viable for renovation. And we go in, we work with local city and county governments and officials to go in, quickly get permits and quickly get people into that housing. So naturally occurring means that what's existing, we're not going to build anything that's new.
So it's really leveraging existing establishments in order to move faster, right? Because if you have to set something up new, there's going to be regulations, zoning that you have to go through. You have to identify the right materials, right? Especially in this environment. So it's areas that are already set up, but may need potentially some small changes or lights here and new technology that might be implemented. But generally something that's already existing that we could move quickly and bring people into homes.
Mm-hmm. And why is that so important? The speed with which you bring people into homes. Most of us think of a home as a place you're going to be for the long term, and a decision that you don't want to rush. You're working with a different community, a different population. Give us some sort of understanding of why that speed is so important.
Yeah, well, I mean, the speed is important because you want to get people in the home, because without a home, it's very difficult to get anything else, right? It's really the foundation that's set. Once someone has the stability of a place to go, home to, roof over their head, heat or air conditioning, right? Because a lot of the units that we invest in Air conditioning is increasingly going to be, an issue. So, as long as someone is there, now they could start having that sense of stability, give them the ability to now apply for a job, right? Get more of a foundation around them. Without that, again, that foundation, it's going to be very difficult to get all of the other things you need in order to live a lot, let alone get the necessities, right? Where to get food, right? All of that. So the speed is critical because we want to get people into the homes, get them the stability that they need in order to move forward. Any delay, every single, minute, hour, day that is added to the delay just, compounds the difficulties that generally anyone would have, but specifically a lot of the low income housing population that we tend to focus
And it's so important. And how do you find the challenge today in this market where I think very well known that housing in general is stressed, and affordable housing in particular is a real challenge for those who need it most. How are you finding this current market, and how are you sort of finding the opportunities for your portfolio that are suitable both from a financial return perspective, but also for the tenants who are ultimately going to live in your properties?
Yeah, so I'll take a shot at that. So for us, we source most of our properties are distressed. They're either from mismanaged, distressed owners. Currently in California, we have a project we're undergoing there, and it's tax defaulted properties that the tax collector there has. A little background: Oakland, California. I'm originally from Oakland. I went to school in Berkeley, and they were looking for a minority developer that had experience with rapid housing or housing people quickly. Their definition was 18 to 24 months. And when I came in, I was and accepted the proposal. I says, absolutely not. That is not rapid housing. For proactive, we get people into housing really quickly. So we source most of our properties. They're off-market deals. They come from brokers, distressed sellers, at auction, economic development departments, just our whole network, whether it be manufactured housing, multifamily, or SRO. We're now in our seventh state, Southeast, Midwest, and now on the West Coast. And so the current market, the only challenge we have most of the time is just getting, low cost capital in the door. Another reason why we subjected to third party impact verification for transparency, accountability. So it doesn't really matter for us to market because low income housing, workforce housing is always in demand. So we don't have an issue there. A quick case in point: during COVID, uh, we had 100% rent collection, and we received funding from the state of South Carolina, and we were able to create more homeowners, create more infrastructure, help people pay their rents up. And for investors, it bodes really well. We're on the 10x side as it relates to impact. We're on the 10x side in our impact housing, and about a 3x on our investor side. So we're able to sustainably have a model that we provide low income workforce affordable housing that's quality, that's durable, that's sustainable, that we're long term holders of to maintain our impact while creating a pretty generous return to our investors and those our stakeholders who are concerned about impact. And we've been able to scale up that model.
Can you help our listeners understand what you mean when you say a 10x on your impact and a 3x on your return? What does that mean to you guys?
So to us, it means that on the impact, we're able to do so many things. So, like I said, we focus on right now, like 7 of the 17 sustainable development goals directly: no poverty, well-being, sustainable goals number 10 and 11. It's like, it's not, if it's true, it's not bragging. It's like we're one of the very few funds that go in. We care about the people that we provide housing to. It allows us to be flexible. For example, we've had residents before, and some of this is on our YouTube channel, our videos. I have 2 books out on the subject now that any of your listeners, I'd be happy to provide a copy of. And then I'm a collaborator on 2 more books. But we're flexible, 10x on our impact. So, for example, we've had situations where a couple is broken up or divorced or something has happened, and we've been able to lower rent temporarily whether it be anywhere from $100 on down to $500. In some cases, we've had residents that we've said, you know what, get back on your feet. Let's work out a payment program. We're going to give you 3 months of, paying 50% of your rent. And then the next 3 months, it'll be 75% until you can work back up to a suitable number. We've been able to be very flexible with the impact. So, for example, with the EPA in Ohio, we have a park that was previously shut down due to a slumlord. We provide clean water and sanitation. We work with the EPA. We test it every week. Well water, wastewater, drinking water. That's some of our 10X on our impact, in addition to sustainable cities and communities.
And then probably just to add to that, I think that the approach that we're taking, among other factors, is number one, it's systems approach. So we're not just addressing affordability, we're also either directly or through partners that we have, because we partner with a number of both on the technology side and on different services side. We look at education, we look at transportation. So how do we provide upskilling to tenants? How do we help them get from their home to the grocery store, for example, right? So we work with maybe local nonprofits that are in the areas that maybe provide transportation support as well.
So, Dr. Van, that sounds like you guys have a really comprehensive strategy that goes far beyond just the discount, if you will, to market rate that you're providing to your tenants, that goes well beyond the number of tenants that you're actually serving. And it did strike us that there were many things that you were doing in addition to the basic, call it low income housing. And I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that and tell us, why is it exactly that you do that, right? What is the reason for going further? Because obviously it's not free. It's overhead to an extent, and it will be really helpful for us to understand, what is that thought process that drives you to do that?
Yes, great question. Thank you. The thought process behind that is in going the extra mile for our residents is that growing up, I grew up partially in some Section 8 housing of my own. Having a mom who had not been diagnosed with mental illness till I was like 9 or 10, I spent some time in the system, group homes, foster homes, and I know the value of what it means to have a stable home. And then even once she was diagnosed and on medication on a regular basis, that there was still a lot of instability because I had really bad asthma. And I spent a lot of times in Children's Hospital, Oakland. Uh, health insurance wasn't the best. She filed for bankruptcy twice. And so I know what it means to, move from place to place. Then at other times, things were better. One of the reasons we go to extra mile, then I also lost a brother in 2019 due to drug addiction and homelessness. So I know what it means for people to have a stable residence. I know what it means to have second chance housing, which we have a really huge component of that. And I also know what it means to have above market rate returns for our investors. And typically we're 25% or more on an annual basis. We have a strong track record. We've already returned since just 2020, 7.5 million to our investors and lenders. We have 3 different programs for investors. Because what I'm hearing a lot now in impact is that people want above market rate returns, and we've been able to, offer a return from anywhere from between 9 to 30%. We have a couple rapid housing programs that pay, upwards of 100% over just a few years. Because we source properties and we have most properties that we buy have either a low or a no cost basis. For example, in Chicagoland, we're able to pick up properties just for the legal cost of what it is. And they ask us to tear down a few structures. And when we tear down a few structures, then we get the land that's underneath the structures. So just imagine that we go into a 50 units or 100-unit apartment building or spread out among 2 or 3 apartment buildings. And our basis is just the renovation costs and that we beautify the area. We provide quality, decent rentals with a certificate of occupancy. And we're able to provide a really, really great investor return and maintain our impact.
That is just fantastic. And Jesse, you and I have talked about this in the past, but could you also discuss sort of the synergies that develop between going that extra mile, right? Between providing more than just the base impact for your tenants and the effect that it has on your network and the effect that it has on your overall business?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So the sort of systems approach that we take is when we go into these areas, obviously the priority is getting people in homes, right? But then making sure that it's safe, that it's sustainable, right? That the water, is working correctly, that the energy, is as efficient as possible, right? And this is part of the investments that we make. But from the systems approach, we also want to address a lot of the core challenges to unaffordability, which is not just once they're in the home, how do they get from point A to point B, right? So how can we help with transportation? So we tend to work with, local nonprofits that might specialize, in transportation specifically. How do we support education, right? What are other groups that we can work with that can provide, different elements of education that can then support the tenants in helping them, let's say, find jobs, right? Because they're finding jobs, they're able to now rent becomes less of an issue for them, and then it's more stable, right? There's no evictions, what have you. So there's sort of this positive effect by approaching the core issues that drive the unaffordability, and not just looking at a roof over their heads, but all of those other factors. The other approach that we take is when we look at this, we again, because we're working with a lot of these non-profits and other social initiatives, we're working with them both locally but then nationally. So because we're developing these relationships with them, they can then let us know about other properties that they would want us to go into, other distressed assets that we can then look into. So our ability to identify just becomes as a natural consequence of working with these organizations. So it's another nice sort of flywheel that helps drive impact overall.
That is tremendous. Thank you. Thanks very much, Jesse.
Yeah.
I
So
just wanted to add
yeah,
really
yeah, of
quickly
course.
that one of the things that we do at Proactive Realty Group is not just provide affordable housing, but we create communities of opportunity. And Jesse was kind of speaking to that people have an opportunity to improve their lives and not just have a roof over their head. And I think that that's really important, and that's really the extra step that we take with communities that we go into.
That's fantastic. And of course, that gives everybody the stability that they're looking for in a
Mhm.
way that you can't always capture on paper or capture in a spreadsheet.
But to Yes, yes, but the capturing it on paper and on spreadsheet, that's important, right? And so one of the ways that we differentiate within Proactive is that it's all measured. So we work with a lot of these core like impact evaluation labs, different organizations that can provide that framework that we can apply. So when we first identify an area, our first screen is can we make the impact across multiple metrics across the various social sustainable development goals that we're targeting. Can we make this impact? Number one. If we can, then okay, now is there financial impact that's there, right? To make sure that it's viable, right? Overall, for us, for our investors. And so a lot of the work that we do, it's really to quantify the impact, both in identifying the investments, making the investment, managing it. We don't sell the properties. Once we invest in them, we of course will want property to a social impact oriented publicly traded company, UMH. But that's only because they were social impact oriented. But beyond that, we'll invest, hold, and continue to invest in the areas. So when we look at it, we want to make sure that it has the numbers behind the investment so we can track, measure, and improve moving forward.
Which, of course, is critical when you're trying to communicate it to some of the folks that I know you're talking to lately as potential investors.
Correct. Right.
So that sort of gets us to a point in the conversation that I want to pivot to. I'd love for you guys to talk about the experience you had with the Impact Evaluation Lab. Bill and Jesse, I know you guys are both instrumental in that because we work very closely with you. What sort of stood out to you? And when we were done with the process, as you're looking backward, where do you think you got the most support and the most advancement for your own selves and your investment strategy?
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So first of all, again, thank you for having us. Rob, you're fantastic. Marin is fantastic. Terrence Keeley, he's fantastic. And even before I hooked up with or engaged with Impact Evaluation Labs, I had bought his book Sustainable and read it last year. And he and I were talking on the phone one day, and I was able to just take a picture and send it to him. Is Impact Evaluation Labs? Okay, so I have a doctorate degree in psychology. And the only time I felt really challenged and like I'm really growing and learning is with impact evaluation labs. It's like, okay, I have been to impact school. And that is the experience. It's like when we get on those calls and, we're going through the process in the framework and, hey, Dr. Van, do this. And Marin is like, okay, you need to do this. And you know what? We're going to take you through this. And everything is so organized and it's just so clear and it's right there. It's like, we're on the call for an hour and a half and it's just like, whoa, was it 15 or 20 minutes? Like, is the call over already? It's an awesome experience. And that's why I referred other people to impact evaluation labs and a couple really large CDFIs that would benefit from, having their borrowers complete an impact evaluation lab, for transparency, for accuracy, accountability. Just a fantastic process and looking forward to the annual reviews, Lord willing, to just continue on with Impact Evaluation Lab, the strategy, the framework, how Impact Evaluation Labs, like I thought I knew Impact, and now I think much, much, much deeper about impact and about the outcome and just, more about intention. Like, Gary Zukav's book, for those of you who have read it, Intentions. It's just been a phenomenal experience. So I won't take up all the time. Jesse and Bill.
Yeah, I think I think you said it all. The only thing I would probably note is granularity. Is sort of like the triple click of not even double click. It's just really looking at it, taking one issue and then being able to turn it a lot of different ways, to see what more value can come out of a single topic, and then just connecting the dots between all of those individual pieces, so that there's both a holistic framework that is clear in picture, but then being able to do a deep dive in any of those areas. And I think helping us connect all of that framework to what we're looking to grapple with every day, I think has been extremely helpful.
Yeah, as
Well,
Dr. Van said, I felt like I went definitely to impact school. One of the things that one of the impacts that I received from this was in my thinking. So everything I thought about moving forward after, engaging with impact evaluation labs was, how does this fit into a framework? What is the outcome? What is the outcome going to be? And how do we document and measure that outcome? And I think it was really powerful learning what it's like to change my thinking and my thought processes about what impact is and how to measure that impact.
well, I will just say on behalf of the whole team, thank you all for those really kind words. It's been really enjoyable working with you guys. We're not done yet. I know we've got some work ahead of us, but so far it's been fantastic. I want to take a minute now and sort of pivot into a different part of the conversation. Again, it's kind of what I call the speed round.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get these questions ahead of time intentionally because I want to hear what's top of your mind. All right. So, so first question, the world of impact is pretty complex for starters. If there was one myth about impact investing that you could take a minute to debunk for skeptics, what would that be?
Below market rate returns, that you cannot have lasting sustainable impact and above market returns.
Amen to that. I will second and third that. What's one piece of advice that you would give to investors who are just starting to think about exploring impact investing?
Due diligence. So due diligence, transparency, ask questions, and follow your dollars. If someone is saying that they're doing certain things in impact and they don't have a strong frame of reference or some type of impact verification. I think these days it's just all too important. With television shows like American Greed having 15 or 16 seasons, that it's very important that investors do due diligence and in the impact space, in the impact realm. Is it real? Is it lasting? Just because someone throws out, oh, it's affordable housing, what percentage? What's the AMI? Who are you serving? Are you serving second chance housing? What are your policies to really vet impact investments? And don't be afraid to also get involved in what I call the impact realm. SOCAP is a great resource. Impact Evaluation Labs, looking at different resources. Morningstar Sustainalytics, which we also have, impact report from Morningstar Sustainalytics, and to get involved with local impact groups that are legitimate. Jesse?
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of advice to investors, the due diligence I think really says it all, because if you're not paying attention to the details, that's where things are going to go wrong. People like to greenwash. People like to apply these terms to differentiate, and at the end of the day, the sustainability has to be there in terms of the dollar returns. And if you're just saying, well, this is impact, lend me money, there are other investments that are out there that might make sense. But if you're not actually speaking to the people, right, that are actually being impacted, right, talking to the managers, and not just taking the word of the investor, this is again why third party validation is really important. So I think that's really the most fundamental. I think the only other piece of that is have a thesis, right? Have a view of how the world is, and what you want to do in terms of leveraging the dollars that an investor would come in. How do you want to see those dollars translate into good? Both in the short and the long term. Last thing would just be think long term, right? At the end of the day, you can't. Short term is short term. And generally won't lead to success.
Those last two comments are, I think, absolutely critical for any investor, certainly impact investors, but any investor. And I would say it's a life skill. As Winston Churchill said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there.
That's right.
So 3 more questions for you guys. These are more fun.
Okay.
Quickly, what's the favorite food that you like to eat in a restaurant that you would never cook at home?
Garlic noodles.
Sorry, what was that, Bill?
Pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah, that's one for sure.
Fried rice, probably.
Oh, that's a good.
Hard to replicate. No.
And here's another one similar to that. What do you like to cook at home?
Yeah, I mean, spaghetti, and the most fancy I'll get is garlic and tomatoes. That's about it, but pretty basic.
For me, a little
Chicken and mixed
pasta and salad.
How about you, Bill?
Chicken and mixed vegetables. Real easy, real quick, and real healthy.
Yep. Amen to that. Quick, easy, healthy. What more do you want for dinner?
Yes. Easy cleanup.
That's true too. That is true too. Well, thank you guys. This has been a real treat today. It has been a great journey walking down this path with you. I know we've got a lot of work to do ahead, but I just want to say I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.